welcome to the channel. Happy Wednesday. Today I'm currently riding my bike to get it nice and warm. Why? Because I'm changing the oil. Today we're going to talk about, well, the best oil for your Harley in 2019, and I'm going to give you some tips on doing your own oil change. Let's get to the shop and make that happen.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Maxwell. I'm a highly trained unprofessional right here at Chattahoochee Harley Davidson. And on this channel, I bring you guys to work with me. So if you want to learn more about Harley Davidson, you should hit the subscribe button right now. I'll start it all off with tips rather than actual oil brands, because I really need to get this oil dropped while the engine is hot, or the oil is hot rather. See, I think there's this misconception about, starting your bike up in your garage for 2 minutes and getting oil circulating. It just doesn't happen that fast. You're supposed to drop your engine oil, primary oil, and transmission oil all at operating temperature. Well, it takes a while for the oil to get hot. It doesn't take very long for an air-cooled V-twin to get hot, but the amount of time that oil takes to circulate through everything and actually warm up to operating temperature of about 230 degrees, that's going to take about 30 minutes of riding time. Not 30 minutes of idling in the driveway. Engine damage will happen, okay? Air cooled, air passed through engine, cool. Let's drop all 3 holes on my bike today. Now, while all of that is draining, very quickly I might add, because it was actually at operating temperature, I'll throw down a couple of extra tips. One, the service manual and the owner's manual both have very similar information about how and what to do for an oil change. It's worth reading about in your owner's manual, but the service manual is a lot more in-depth in all areas of maintaining your motorcycle, so it's worth picking one up. Kind of tech would I be if I didn't throw that out there. One of the things that's really important for you to find in the owner's manual and service manual both is the chart on which oil you should run, synthetic versus regular. I think we all know that V-twins tend to be a louder engine, so basically when you're picking your oil, you're trying to pick something that's thick enough to quiet some of that noise down, but not so thick that you can't start in cold temperatures. That's what the chart is about. The lowest temperature that the bike will still start fairly easy and not, have an issue with the oil being too thick during initial warm-up. Talking about viscosity of oil and noise and stuff. For instance, in my Sportster, I ran regular oil in it because Sportsters are loud. There's a lot of rocker noise and, well, it just ticks. So I ran regular oil. It's a little thicker than synthetic, even though it's 2050. I don't know, man. That's just what I've seen. But in this one, I am going to run synthetic because it's not as noisy of an engine. And quite frankly, there's some new synthetic that we'll get to in a second. Let me just move along a little bit on my actual oil change. I've been talking a lot about the viscosity of the oil, and that's the 2050, straight 50, and straight 60 found on those bottles. Well, depending on what you ride and how noisy the engine is, for example, in the summertime on that Sportster, I could run straight 50 or straight 60, and the engine would run a lot less noisy. For you Evo owners, you might also typically run a straight oil in your engine. But in the last couple of years, synthetic has really started to take over for all brands, Harley included. One of the biggest ones I see on the market now that everyone wants to talk about is AMSOIL. I don't really have any opinion on the brands, to be honest with you. I should go ahead and break down what the best oil is for your motorcycle. See, the thing is, really what's important is that your engine has oil and that it's good to operate at the temperatures that you are attempting to operate your motorcycle in. I don't know if that makes sense. You get the idea though. Essentially, with spring coming on, I'm going to Florida. I'll be in Daytona this weekend. March 9th, 12 to 2 fan meetup at Zero 3D booth, if you didn't already know that. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and set my bike up for, well, the season essentially, or the first 5,000 miles that I'm in warmer weather. So I'm gonna run Sin 3 from Harley Davidson out of convenience. And that's the biggest thing about what oil to choose, to be honest with you, is convenience. Do you have to like hunt all over town? Do you order a oil change kit from the internet and they send you everything you need? Because I get a lot of emails that someone will order the kit and then they somehow didn't end up with enough oil in the kit, or they still have questions about it. The reality is, if it's convenient to get, it's not too incredibly expensive, and it's actually made for an American V-twin engine, you're good to go. Just make sure your bike has oil in it. Even AMSOIL makes their V-twin motorcycle oil, because a company like AMSOIL makes oil for a lot of things, so it's very important to get the one that's for an air-cooled engine. They just run hotter than a liquid-cooled engine, and that's why if you use that oil, it's gonna burn up and not do its job like it's supposed to. The whole point of having the oil is to lubricate surfaces and to keep it at a cooler temperature. Anything that's gonna break down once it hits operating temperature of over 200 degrees is a bad idea. Now, that's what you need to know about engine, but since I'm doing all 3 holes, primary and transmission also, let's talk gear oil really quick. I've always thought it was kind of weird to run Sin 3 or even AMSOIL's V-twin oil. Each manufacturer says that it's good in the primary and the transmission. I don't know why you would use engine oil in gear housings. Formula Plus, it's a regular gear oil, but we don't know the weight of it. It's just Formula Plus. In the synthetic world, AMSOIL, Redline, Bel-Ray, they all make a gear oil, and now Harley Davidson does too. It's cool. I got it. A lot of why I run Harley oil is because it's on a shelf right over here in the shop. It's too easy. I don't have to search the internet or run AutoZone or I don't know, wherever you get that stuff. It's already at my work. If you have a dealership close to you, then that's a pretty good place to stop off and buy your oil. If you're out on a road trip and find that you need some oil, you know that a dealership will have what you run in your bike. All good reasons to run Harley. The benefits to running Redline and things like that in the past were that they were a thicker synthetic gear oil. I think Harley might have finally, like a decade later, figured out a way to, well, have the right thing for the right holes. Now when you do your own services, for the first time especially, that drain plug can be really worrisome. My engine oil drain plug is totally clean, as it should be, and your transmission and primary drain plugs will likely have a powdery metal substance on it. Not chunks of metal, but that's totally normal. That's part of why you're changing the oil, is to get all that stuff out of there. It's also why you're changing your oil while it's at operating temperature, so that all that's lifted off of the bottom of the housing and is circulating in the oil, so that when you drain it, it all comes out of the drain hole. Here's a really important tip for you. Pour about 4 ounces of oil inside your oil filter to get it ready. More importantly than that, lubricate the rubber surface of the oil filter so it'll be easier to get off the next time. They get stuck if they're all dry and stuff. And don't tighten it with a tool. It's only 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn after contact. Don't go all crazy with it. You'll never get the back off for the next oil change. So at this stage of the game, I've got my initial fill for oil. I'm full on my primary and transmission, and I'm just gonna take it for a ride here in a few minutes and then check the oil once it's at operating temperature again to see if I need to add more. That's an important part. You do a cold oil check, make sure that it's there on the dipstick, hopefully at the add 1 quart line at least. Go ride it, get it back to operating temperature, check your oil hot always. It will expand, and well, like on my model, last time I did an oil change on it, I actually had it set at 4.5 quarts in the bike, so about half a quart needed to be added cold. When I stopped for my first tank of gas on my trip out to Paris, Texas, it was actually on the money, on the F, perfect fill level. That's the short of it though, guys. That's my tips for the day. That's the oils that I choose are based pretty much on the fact that Harley is convenient for me. It's on the shelf. They do test their oil and their transmission, primary and engine. I'll put a link to Harley Davidson's YouTube channel on a video they just put out a couple weeks ago if you're curious about how they test it. That's pretty much where I'm at with the best oil for your Harley. Pick one that helps you sleep at night. For me, knowing that it's made by Harley for my Harley, it just makes me sleep better. It actually has little to nothing to do with me working for Harley. I've run Harley oil before I worked here. Like I said, I was going to go redline in the transmission because I hear good things about it, but with Harley having a new gear oil that's more convenient for me to grab and throw in my transmission, I went with that one this time. You can let me know what you run in the comments below. Does it help you sleep at night? Does it make you feel better about running that oil? That's what's important, having oil in your bike. Hope you enjoyed the tips in the oil change. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a big dirty thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you hadn't quite got your fix, I got a video here and here. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.